If everybody would just make sure that their cell phones are on vibrate, especially the mayor, since mine went off one time. And we will have Mr. Roberts lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Rowe.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Present.
Councilman Racy.
Here.
Councilman Porter.
Here.
Councilman Sanders.
Present.
Councilman Gabriel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Gabriel is on vacation, so if I would please have a motion to excuse him.
I'll make a motion to excuse him.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
And then Councilman Webster. Present. You do have a quorum with 6 members present. All right, the first item of business is to have the oath of office administered to Jeremiah Webster, and it will be administered by Sherry Owens. So if you'd like to go up to the front, Councilman Webster, and Sherry, if you'd like to come up. Okay.
Who's Sherry Owen? Okay.
We're going to have you stand here while Jeremiah here. Right, now Sherry here. Yeah, and then I have it here, but if you want to do that.
Okay.
Okay? And then you'll raise your right hand and keep it. Okay?
I, Jeremiah Robert Webster, do
I-
solemnly swear
I, Jeremiah Robert Webster, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Charter of the City of Wayne,
and the Charter of the City of Wayne,
and that I will perform my duties as a councilman of the City of Wayne
and perform my duties as a councilman of the City of Wayne
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Yeah. Sure. Perfect. And then I'll put the seal on that. Okay.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So it's officially official.
Thanks.
Right.
Officially official. Jeremiah, would you like to introduce the family members that are here this evening?
Absolutely. The little one in the front that looks like me, just 5 times smaller, is my son Nolan. My wife Amara is sitting in the back row. My daughter Kylie, my mother Melissa, my father Harold, and of course Sherry Owens, who just performed my oath.
Well, welcome this evening.
Thank you.
I hope you're proud of them.
Yes.
Good, good.
All right. The first item on the agenda is item 1, to approve the agenda.
Wish of council? Okay.
I move to approve the agenda.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Webster. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is item 2, city council minutes. Item 2A are the regular meeting minutes of August 1st.
I move approval meeting minutes of August 1st.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Porter. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next is item 3, presentations. Item 3A is the presentation of certificates of commendation to Officers Robert Amori, Chad Jacoda, and Nicholas Baruda, and life-saving awards to Officers Stephen Perez and Chad Jacoda.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council.
Good evening.
I have several awards to present tonight. Kind of the background on this is every year, the police department selects a citation committee, and what they do is they review cases that are submitted from the past year, 2016, and also vote on the Police Officer of the Year award. The peers vote on if a officer is that case actually rises to these different certificates that we have to award. So tonight I want to go through a couple different awards that we had got this year. First off, Officer Chad Jagoda is not here tonight, but I want to read his. He's unable to make it. So the first one will be for Officer Chad Jagoda, and this is a life-saving award. On January 27, 2016, Officer Jagoda was dispatched to a resident on an attempt suicide. Upon arrival, he located the victim in the garage, who had tied a rope around her neck and began hanging herself upon seeing the officer. Officer Jagoda grabbed the victim, lifted her body, and was able to remove the rope from around her neck. The victim was transported to Wayne Beaumont Hospital and turned over to hospital staff. Officer Jagoda is to be commended for his exceptional work during this incident. He prevented this victim from seriously injuring herself or causing her death. So I wanted to read that one on the record tonight as he's not here. Tonight I want to call up Officer Nicholas Baruda. This is a case that occurred at the Wayne parking structure on January 6th of 2016. Also included in this recognition or certificate of commendation is Officer Chad Jagoda. So I will read Officer Nicholas Baruda's award. On the evening of January 6, 2016, Officer Jagoda was dispatched to the Wayne parking structure along with Sergeant McKay and Officer Jagoda on a property damage complaint. As many of you remember, several vehicles were observed to have damage at this time. While gathering information, dispatch advised of similar complaints on Elm Street and at Wayne City Hall. One witness gave a brief description of the possible suspect. Officer Baruda observed a group of subjects matching the description and made contact with them. After extensive questioning and further investigation, it was determined that the suspects were responsible for the damage and were arrested for the damage to property. Officer Baruda's diligence and good police work are to be commended. Congratulations.
Fashionably correct. Very nice. Thank you.
Okay, for the next award, I want to call up Sergeant Robert Amore. This is a certificate of commendation. The details of this certificate are on October 7th, 2016 at approximately 7:57 a.m. Sergeant Amore responded to Fraser's Towing on Van Born on a breaking and entering and a stolen vehicle complaint. Sergeant Amore reviewed the surveillance footage and recognized one of the suspects in the video from previous contact. Through his investigation, he found the suspect had stolen another vehicle after this incident and was observed driving it. Officer Baruda and Wayland later in the day located the stolen vehicle, and the two defendants were arrested less than 12 hours after this original incident. Sergeant Amore was instrumental in this case of bringing the suspects to justice, and his recollection of the individual and good police work are to be commended. Congratulations.
One of them could take a picture for you if you want.
She's good at that. Oh, how sweet. That's so cute. Would you introduce us?
It's my wife Dawn and my son Giovanni, and my daughter Lily.
If I can call up Officer Stephen Perez.
Bless you.
And these are going to be 2 life-saving awards for Officer Perez. The first case was on January 9th of 2016. Officer Perez was dispatched to a residence on a family trouble. When he arrived at the location, he observed a 12-year-old with 2 large lacerations to his arm, which severed an artery. Officer Perez utilized his tourniquet, which we carry every day on patrol, and applied the tourniquet to the juvenile's arm. Due to the extent of the injury, Officer Perez transported the juvenile to Wayne Beaumont Hospital in his patrol vehicle. The juvenile was turned over to hospital staff and was then transported to Mott's Children's Hospital, where emergency surgery was performed, repairing the artery. Officer Perez, you would be commended for your quick actions, which possibly saved this juvenile from more severe medical issues or even death. Congratulations. I have one more life-saving award for Officer Perez. This one occurred on September 15th of 2016. Officer Perez was dispatched to the Red Apple on a suicidal subject. When he arrived at the location, he observed a male subject just south of the railroad tracks, and he approached him. As Officer Perez approached the subject, he began inflicting a laceration on his left inner forearm with a knife, stating he wanted to die. Officer Perez spoke with the subject, and he complied with his order to surrender the knife. Officer Perez then utilized his tourniquet, applying it to the subject's arm. Wayne Rescue arrived on scene and began to apply medical treatment. The subject was then transported to Wayne Beaumont Hospital, where he was turned over to hospital staff. Officer Perez, you are to be commended for your quick actions, which possibly saved the subject's life. Congratulations.
Everybody up here, all the officers. Yeah, sure. After this one. Oh, that's great.
We have all the officers come up. No, this idea. 1 to 3.
Amore, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
That's Sergeant, right?
Camera? You want someone to get a picture? I'm not gonna use it, but somebody can.
Springer. Good to see you. How are you? Good. I feel safe.
Yeah, I know, right?
We should have them here all the time. All of them.
Okay, the next item is item 4, requests. Item 4A is a request from the Wayne Main Street to place scarecrows in the downtown from September 30th to November 4th.
Move to approve. Support.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Miller and supported by Councilman Racy. Any questions or discussion?
Is Maxwell going to give a presentation on it?
Did you have a specific
No, I-
question? or-
just-
Okay. Maxwell, do you want to, my one question to you was, is it still, was it $20 for the frame? Okay. All right, okay.
Thank you. I'm satisfied.
No, that's okay.
That was my question. I just didn't know if I could ask her.
All right, it's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next is item 5A, or 5 bid awards. 5A is to approve a bid award for the installation and repair of the ball fields at Forest Park, and this will be paid from Michigan Economic Development Corporation grant, with the approval subject to the written contract acceptable to both the city and the vendor.
Madam Mayor, I move approval low bid at Giannetti Building Development, Oxford, Michigan, for Forest Park of $62,779.
Okay.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. Is there any questions or discussions?
Well, I guess I should ask, guys, before I go, are we approving the total amount for both, or just because it's the dark?
Just the one.
That's what I thought.
Just-
That's what the memo said. I just want to make sure.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Harold, can we ask when
Yeah.
the construction of it will begin?
City Manager?
Ed, is it till September or 5th or September?
We're going to sign a contract in about a week here, and then they'll get started.
Okay,
They have to
early
be
September.
completed by September 30th.
Correct, per the grant. Yep. Thank you.
The next item is item 6, appointments of boards, commissions, and committees. Item 6A is to accept the resignation of Alfred Brock from the Library Board.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved and supported, moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. Any questions or discussion? No? All in favor?
I was going to say.
Yes.
If we can send him a letter of thank you for his participation,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
and then we're going to vote.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6B is to accept the resignation of Virginia Cesars from the Library Board.
Move approval with the appropriate letter of thanks.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Porter. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 6C. This is to accept the appointment of Renee Davis, 35028 Winslow, to the Library Board to fill the unexpired term of Virginia Cesars until February 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
It was supported by Councilman Webster? Okay. It was supported by Councilman Webster. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Also,
you.
Ms. Davis is in the audience, so if you'd like to
Yes.
recognize her. There you
Ms. Davis, could you please stand? Thank you. Thank you.
Next item is item 6D. This is to accept the appointment of Larry McConnell, 36846 Greenbush Court, to the Library Board to fill the unexpired term of Alfred Brock until February 2022.
Move approval.
Support.
It was moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Porter. Is there any questions, discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is Mr. McConnell? No, okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Item 7 is communications and reports. Item 7A is a flyer from the Youth Services regarding the Suicide Awareness Community Forum, which will be held Wednesday, September 6th at 2017, from 6 until 8 at the library.
Can I ask a question? Was it changed from the police department? Yes.
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
And this is
I would
just
move to support.
receive and file.
Right.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then, any questions? No?
Just want
Okay.
to point out that we just heard of a suicide incident with some of the awards that we gave out to the police department, just how important this is in our community and the problem that we have with suicide amongst our young people. So I think this is very good to recognize September as Awareness Month.
Thank you. And we will receive and file.
Yes. Next item is 7B. This is the July 31st, 2017 Revenue and Expenditure Report.
We receive and file, Madam Mayor.
It's been moved. Receive and-
There's no, yeah,
No,
there's no
right,
necessary.
okay, just receive and file. Thank you.
The next item is item 8, general items for consideration. Item 8A is discussion regarding Chapter 1470 blight regulations for residential areas.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller, you had asked that this be put on today's agenda. Would you like to open up
Yes.
discussion?
First of all, thank you very much. This blight ordinance is a very good ordinance. I think where we have problems with it is with compliance in this community. I think that where it pertains to the trash containers positioned, on people's properties, that I think the wording is good. I think we can expand a little bit more to be more clarified of it. I think our goal is not to be positioned on the front of the yard or I'm looking at is any additional trash that cannot fit in the container, that it remain behind the home until pickup. I also feel that, when we talk a little bit about the odor that may come from the containers, depending on the proximity of where it's at in the, in the neighborhood, some homes are closer to others. Then maybe we need to consider that as well. Maybe put some verbiage there. Other than that, that's my only recommendations with this ordinance. There's too many variations of properties and homes to be able to make it uniform throughout all the neighborhoods. But what we're really looking for is just to try to make, our community a little bit more eye-appealing, to ourselves and to potential new residents. So.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
although I met with Ms. Rooney, and we've had this discussion, and I told, when I met with Ms. Rooney, who was the, I guess, the person who initiated this change, I do support having us look at this, but I don't know that I guess there's a motion to approve. I'll just leave it there, and then I would have motioned to table it. But there's a motion. I'll just leave it there.
Actually, we have no motion, so we need a motion.
I motion to table this issue because there's so many things that are going on with this issue. And considering all that else is going on with the administration, even though I think it's important, and I told Ms. Rooney that, and I've had conversations with others, I just think that we do just fly by night on an issue like this that has a cause to disrupt, as it did last time. I just think this is the wrong time. So I motion to table.
Support.
Okay, it was moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Racy to table. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of tabling? Aye. Okay. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. If I could just ask the city attorney in tabling this, if you could just look at, I think the one thing that to me is where the confusion comes in is where it states that a nuisance in, I believe it's section 1470.03, and section B, it states, in no case shall refuse containers be stored in the front yard, and refuse containers shall be stored in such a manner as not to create a nuisance. I think if somewhere we have the section above that says definitions, if we could have a definition of what is a nuisance. I mean, I don't know if there is anything. I know, you're laughing, I know.
That look says it all.
I know, says it all, yeah. But I think that would be the major criteria, because really, this issue is in the blight regulations for residential areas. And I know some people think that, trash cans out visible from the street is no big deal. But, it is, it's about curb appeal. And you start, as the ordinance states, that the purpose of it is to rehabilitate areas by eliminating blight and blight factors within all areas of the city for the protection of the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the municipality, to preserve existing values of other properties within or adjacent to such areas in all other areas of the city. And then it also states that it is expressly recognized that blight is observable at different stages of severity, and that moderate blight, unremedied, creates a strong probability that severe blight will follow. So in my mind, this is just, just common courtesy, I think, of your neighbors and pride in your neighborhood. And one of the issues that I have found when I would knock on doors is that in the areas where the properties are, just 40-foot lots, and people put their trash can on the opposite side of like their side door, and then that trash can is sitting 3 feet, 4 feet from their neighbor's window.
Right.
And their neighbors can't open their windows in the summertime because of sometimes the stench of the garbage. That was the biggest complaint that I heard. So sometimes, just have a little, just think a little bit how you would like it if you couldn't open your windows because you would smell the garbage of your next door neighbor. So it just comes down to being considerate of your neighbors and pride in the community. So that's all I have to say on
Madam
this.
Mayor?
Yes.
Along with that thought, as I told Ms. Rooney, I do support it. There's some, as you pointed out, like the nuisance, I guess I have a question for the city attorney, and it was a sheepish smirk that she has. Can we as a city declare our own definition of a nuisance? Or is it just a general catch-all for legalese for the state and the?
The problem is there's an extensive amount of case law that interprets what constitutes a nuisance, either a nuisance per se, a nuisance in fact. So to try to encapsulate years and years and years of cases that have interpreted what constitute a nuisance in the form of just an ordinance definition would be nearly impossible, in my opinion. I think the best way, and I've looked at this ordinance just kind of now and on my own time in preparing for tonight as well, but as much as people don't like rules, the only way we can improve this ordinance is by creating a clear, defined line of what is a violation, what is not.
Okay.
So when you talk about and include language that says, so as not to create a nuisance, that's subjective, right? A nuisance to one is different than a nuisance to another, then to another, and so on and so forth. So as much as people don't want to be told, this is the line that we have to create, I think the only way to improve this ordinance is to say it has to be kept either in a structure, so in a garage or a shed, or completely behind the house so as not to be visible from the curb. And I don't think that that language doesn't affect a corner property owner, because the way that is measured is standing at the front curb. So that's the definition. So by definition, if you're on a corner, as long as I'm standing at the front of your house, the front curb, facing, the entrance to your home, so to speak, it needs to either be behind the house or in your garage. And that's the only way we have a clear-cut definition. Regardless of getting into whether we have the ability to enforce it because we don't have enough bodies, right? Just the issue is, we need to have a clear defined purpose and a clear defined way to tell whether or not someone's in violation. And if we're going to amend it, we need to make sure that what we have is clear. And I don't think trying to define what would constitute a nuisance to a neighbor is going to create clarity. If anything, I think it's going to create confusion.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You gave us an opinion.
Mayor Rowe, let
Yes.
me ask this. Okay, it's just not the container, but it's the additional trash that's put next to it that sits there until the pickup day, that's visible for that whole week. That's what I'm thinking about. The container itself is not that ugly, okay? It's the additional trash that there's not enough room in that container to hold, and it sits next to it, to wherever they're parking that can, that sits there the whole week. That is the stuff that needs to be kept out of eyesight until pickup day. That's all. And I
Mayor,
just-
point of order.
Okay.
There's been a motion, it's been passed, let's move on.
Okay.
All right.
Are there citizens
Thank
allowed
you.
to make a
No.
comment?
Not at this time. No, we've already voted on it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
The
you.
next item is 8B. 8B is to approve change order number 1, which is final with Camtronics for additional improvements to the police department video surveillance system in the amount of $36,006.32 to be paid from the police department capital outlay budget.
Okay.
Move to
Yes.
approve.
Yes, is there support?
Support.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Miller, supported by Councilman Webster. Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of City Council. Where this come about is, obviously, the last council meeting was approved to move forward with Camtronics for our video replacement project. Myself, Jeff Martin, and Mr. Wellman from Camtronics did an initial meeting and a walkthrough. And during that time, Mr. Wellman brought up a couple different camera placements that maybe we didn't really narrow down at the beginning, which would fit and which actually, and they'll be able to explain this a little better, but give a better projection, a better camera angle of certain areas. And that's basically moving 2 cameras that were originally it was supposed to be affixed to the police department to two light poles. One light pole just to the east of the police department front parking lot. And where I see benefits in that, especially when the storage facility goes up, that's going to give us a better sight line, especially along that back wall of that building. The second one is a light pole just east of the carport, which is behind our station. Our vehicles all parked on our covered carport. There's a light pole just east of that. We were originally going to put that camera on this actually affixed to the back of the station, but moving it on that light pole gives us a better view, also allows us to look at the railroad tracks, go out to where the storage is going to be on that east side, and also look back down behind where the police vehicles parked and where the officers come and go, coming and exiting the building from their police vehicles. Another camera that we talked about too is our entry and exit gate. That gate, right now, there is a PTZ camera, which means that camera can move. Basically, that camera is focused right on that gate where the cars come and go. We really don't use it for anything other than that, and Mr. Womack suggested, why don't we put a fixed camera there to focus on that area where cars come and go and free up that PTZ to use to zoom in on Howe Road, Michigan Avenue, behind the station, things like that. So those were those three camera changes basically come about. Also, the last council meeting, there was a lot of interest from council in looking at expansion, how can we make this system good now so we can expand later to add cameras. This is where the additional monitors and control expansion comes in. And they'll be able to explain this a little better, and I'll leave it to them because I'm not really technical on that. So long and the short of it, at the end of the day, this is going to cost an additional $20,469.52. So it's going to bring the total cost of the project to $56,475.84. Mind you, taking into account the MMRMA grant, which will pay 50% up to $50,000, we're looking at a spend of the city at $31,475.84. So, that's kind of looking at it, and it's up to council do we want to expand now, do we want to maybe hold off now, depending on what that is. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Wellman and Mr. Martin to explain kind of the details of the addition.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for being here.
So, as the chief related, we had a meeting, that was a kickoff meeting for the project, and we reviewed those camera positions. Now, what rang clear in our minds was the council's questions about camera expansion. And when we looked at the current system is designed as a surveillance system, which basically means that it's designed to maintain a surveillance around the property. But what it can't do well is provide event-driven response because we don't have any part of the system designed to handle event-driven responses. An event-driven response would be a panic button possibly at the city council building. And that button would then ring into the council, to the police department. Now that button would also cause multiple cameras to come up automatically in front of the dispatcher. So the dispatcher would automatically see what was going on very quickly and aid in the response of the police department. To present those, we've got to have more monitors. We've got to have places to put these cameras when they come in. You're looking more at a city monitoring more than a building monitoring. And when you start talking about adding cameras in a city, you've got to have monitors to accommodate that monitoring. And that monitoring requires the monitors to be down lower, so the dispatcher can see them. And they're not going to be small pictures. They're going to be large enough so that they can really be of value to the dispatcher. They need to be able to look at them and understand what's going on. And they can also use it to protect the police response. In an effort where police is responding to an incident out in front of a camera, the dispatcher can actually monitor that police officer while they're performing their duties. So that's the strategy behind why we added the additional cameras to the project.
If you could mention the current monitoring system, I found it interesting when I was with the chief today. The current monitors are mirrors of each other. So even though there's 8 monitors there now, actually, in effect, there's really only 4 because...
That's correct. You're correct.
Okay, so those 8 monitors are really only 4 monitors. They're just like duplicates.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Which that will now be broken up.
Right.
As part of this project,
Right.
they're going to have 8 individual monitors for monitoring surveillance of the building, plus the additional monitors for monitoring exterior cameras or cityscape cameras then.
Yes.
So what's the total monitoring capacity of this whole system now, would be?
Well, the camera count stays the same. You're up in the thousands for cameras. But what you can do, the issue is where do you put the event video when they come in? They have to have some place to go so the dispatcher can react to them. And that's part of the tripping point when you start designing a system and you start looking at cityscape monitoring, is you've got to have somewhere to route that video so that the dispatchers can take advantage of it and use it in the aid of dispatch. So I don't know if I answered your question directly, but you have a lot of cameras can go on the system.
Okay.
All right, you still
But
have that
only,
capacity.
say, 16 of them can be actually viewed at a time? And then they would change or switch over to another camera?
Mhm.
Kind of going in a clock cycle?
Entirely possible. The new monitors, though, we are thinking more of monitoring maybe, activities that need maybe a police presence. Cameras are force multipliers, is what they do. They give a small group much more visibility around the property. So they allow them to see much more that's going on around the city. So in a dispatcher's position, they'll be able to monitor with the larger ones the city activity. And then the other monitors will be used for more of around the property of the police department. So you have expanded both the monitors now to almost support the cameras that you could possibly put in it. Does that?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
The one thing I would say in our instance, we no longer have dispatch in our city, in the police department. We have just the PSA person and then also the command officer there. So if you could just sort of give, and you know the size of our force, so if you could give us a little bit of idea of, from that perspective of the small size of our force and the fact that, we just have the PSA and a command officer, how is that going to affect the safety of like the officer and the city? Not so much from the dispatching, but just from those two perspectives.
So you're talking in an event-driven situation? Okay. So in an event-driven, let's take our example of City Hall. City Hall hits the panic button. Usually 2 cameras are required in that sort of instance. One is a camera that's on the desk watching possibly the assault or the assailant, and the other camera is on the parking lot. So when that comes in, the police dispatcher or people in the police department itself are going to see the activity of both what happened inside the building and the vehicles that were involved in the getaway after the event. That information gets relayed back out to the police force then. This is, you're looking for a blue Chevy with a broken taillight.
Okay.
Did I answer your question? Is
Yes,
that
it
kind of
does.
what you're
Yes,
looking for?
yes.
Okay.
Plus, I feel it would give the person who is watching that screen the opportunity to let the officers know if there is if there is a person hiding somewhere that they can't see because they're on the ground, but yet the camera is picking that person up. So in my mind, that's a safety factor for the officer.
Exactly. Exactly.
Madam Mayor,
Okay, yes, other questions? Yes.
it's more of a statement. I support this. I need a question when you say event situation. I know Councilman Racy has suggested several times having some down, and I think that's a good idea, downtown, and, because that's where we had a rash of break-ins and that sort of stuff. My only concern is that Big Brother getting too big. Sometimes people have expectation of privacy, enjoying friends and enjoying parks and whatever. I'm concerned that sometimes, that's all, I just think that sometimes we are getting far beyond our reach, what we should be getting. If it's for protection and safety, I'm good with that. If it's to be intrusive, I'm not.
And that would impact the position of the cameras then,
Okay,
to address that concern.
thank you.
Could I please ask whose phone that is to please turn it off or silent it? It's very annoying. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
Are these wireless cameras? Are these wireless cameras?
No, they are not.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I know this is a little, like, something that we talked about, Jeff and the chief and I, that's a good example, and it's, I get what you're saying, Councilman, but one thing that I really liked is that the example that they gave to me is that we have a lot of damage that consistently happens to the pavilion outside in Gowdy Park. There's kids skateboarding, there's biking, there's a lot of things happening. And we try as City Hall to monitor it, go talk to the kids, try to tell them, this is really not a good idea to be out here, you're damaging, even though we have the skate stops, it still happens, or if they're writing on it, graffiti. One of the things we talked about is instead of me saying, hey, chief, can you send somebody over here for something like that with the limited force we have, is to maybe have a loudspeaker system so they can see the video surveillance on the pavilion. Somebody notices it, a kid's vandalizing or something's happening, they can say over the loudspeaker, the police are on the way, please exit the premises. So I think that's a way to actually deter a lot of issues in some places that we're having problems with, that they can, address it from that aspect. So I think it's not just the video, but it's also an ability to have a second set of eyes looking so that we don't have to run out. We're not here 24/7. So if there's people in the park after hours, they can say, look, loudspeaker goes off, the park is closed. But they'll have an ability to do that. Is that an okay example, Jeff? We talked about that? So thank you for letting me add that.
Mayor,
Yes.
so how would you prevent these cameras from the wires being cut? They're not wireless.
I'm sorry,
These new ones.
Yeah, the new ones, they're not wireless.
the new ones, that we're adding to the police
Yeah.
department.
Yeah.
Well, there's already cables going out to the cameras. Case in point, the main gate. The main gate already has a pan and tilt there. What we're going to do is, we're actually going to pull in a new cable, and this cable is in the conduit and going up through the pole. So it's not exposed at all. And the same situation applies to the, what I call the carport camera, the one in the back by the railroads. We're using the same, we're using a conduit that's underground right there. I had two of my technicians open up conduits and review the feasibility of this before we even presented any quotes for it.
But they would also be capable of monitoring Gowdy Park or the Washington Trail or an event in downtown, and these wires won't be, will be protected? I mean, I'm surprised that it's not wireless at some point here.
That would be a different set of cameras to discuss.
Okay. And is this equipment capable of handling that as well?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure.
and you've got the backbone to do it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I
Yes.
don't have a question. I think this is a good start. I think that there's a lot of different areas that we could utilize this, and I know some of the businesses that have had some major issues that could be helpful for them too. And I'll talk to the chief more about some more ideas I have outside of here, but I think that there's some other ways that we can, having this type of a system can really help our police force. And I think that it's a good start to giving them some extra set of eyes when we don't have the money to provide the officers that I'd like to have on the street right now. So, thank you.
Okay. All right, then. No further questions? All in favor? Yes.
Residents have a right to speak.
I don't see anybody raising their hand.
You didn't ask.
I said, are there any further questions?
I thought you meant from us. All right, fair enough.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for coming.
The next item is 8C, discussion regarding rules and procedures regarding staff updates on the agenda.
Madam Mayor?
Yes. Councilman
Regarding
Sanders.
this, I don't know how, it even got off the agenda, because when we discussed this, I was opposed to it, but when we discussed it, and it was part of the agenda process, and we were discussing items on how the agenda was gonna flow out, it was discussed at that meeting that we keep the city manager update on that. So I'm not sure how it ever got off the agenda.
I don't recall the discussion either, so, is it,
For clarification, Mayor, I'm
yes.
just looking at the rules and procedures.
yes,
It has a city manager report function
Right.
still, but on the old agenda, we had a department head staff update also, in addition to.
Okay, to
Where
the
it didn't
two.
specify. I think prior, the city manager was viewed as kind of also a staff update, But since we were specific here and just said city manager report, using that language, we necessarily excluded other staff members from providing updates.
Okay.
And we had said that obviously we need a motion to revise this agenda if we wanted to add a staff update portion. So really, it could be done in one of two ways. You can add staff updates prior to the city manager report, or you can just change the city manager report to say staff update, and it include both her update together with any department heads.
I make that motion then to change the item on the agenda, which is 11 on this one, that it say staff update, or city manager / staff update.
Yes.
Could we change it just to administration reports?
That'd be great.
Just to encompass all of it.
Okay, is there support?
I support.
Okay. And did the clerk get that? Is there any discussion or questions from members of the council? No? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Do you have a question about this?
I have a question, something I want to say.
About this item, because about the agenda?
Praise the Lord.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me one moment, though, please.
Okay.
Mayor
Ma'am,
Ryan.
yes.
Okay. I have a motion. I don't have the seconder. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you.
The citizens' comments comes up next.
Okay,
Okay.
after that, I can
Yes, at that point, yes. Okay.
from that on.
Okay, thank you. All right. It's been moved and supported to change item 11 on the agenda to state administration updates. All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. I'm sorry. Opposed? I'm sorry.
Okay, it will be actually, I'm going to be amending number 19 in the procedures and rules.
Oh, also,
Because
right.
it comes and goes, some of the
Okay.
items,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
So I'll
Thank
be
you.
providing that to you for your next packet.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we come to citizens' comments or requests on items that are not on the agenda. So that would be your area. So if you could come up to the podium, please. Yes, now, yes. And I just need your name and where you live in the city, that's all.
Name now?
When you get up here.
Okay. Praise the Lord. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
I want everybody in this place to say, praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Hey, you know why? Let me tell everybody.
Could I have your name, please?
Leslie Bates Noel.
Leslie Noel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Danity.
Okay, and,
The word of God.
okay, and you live where?
That was Wayne Tower, where
Oh.
I was raised at.
Okay, all right, ma'am.
All y'all.
Okay, ma'am, okay.
But you know what? Let me tell y'all, people, everybody in this building. Wayne, Michigan.
Ma'am, you're addressing us,
Okay.
the council here.
Wayne, Michigan is the best place in Michigan. For police, citizens at this place here, everything goes on. Wayne know how to handle it. All these police and constables, they know me. This old mouth here speak. You know, the president want me to come on TV worldwide and speak there. And I'm going to do what I can tell them about Wayne, Michigan. Wayne is the best state in Michigan. You know why? All the police, city council, and everybody on one accord. And that's the only way you're going to keep this place like it's supposed to be. We got to be on one accord. And when, you know what? This place should be packed out. It should be more than 2 black people and me and her. Y'all take care of the black, the white, the blue, the brown. It doesn't matter about the color.
That's
Y'all
good.
is for everybody. Praise the Lord. And I like to tell it like a TIS.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I love that.
Thank you, Ms. Noel.
Mayor, city council, men and women, I have a question.
Could I have your name, please?
Lucietta Adrena Miles. I ran against Anthony Miller in 2015, and he defeated me.
I'll repeat.
My first question is, I believe, I'm not sure, but I read in the Wayne Dispatcher that it's another marijuana dispensary somewhere here in Wayne? Is that true, or is it just one?
I'll have the city manager.
Medical
Two.
marijuana?
It's two. There are two dispensaries right now.
Oh, where's the location?
There's one on Michigan Avenue,
Uh-huh.
and the other one is on Treadwell and
Cogswell.
Cogswell and Van Born area.
Oh, not near the elementary school?
Oh, no, they have to be 1,000 feet away.
Okay. And my comment about the suicide awareness,
Yes.
it'd be nice if the community could pull together and start a grassroots committee to find out what problems are leading up to one to take their life. And this is really, really disturbing. I'm not sure, but in 2015, it was a young man in Wayne, and he held, I don't know if it was 2015 or 2016, but he held the police off for a number of hours. And I was sitting in the salon area at Wayne Towers where I live, and the lady was talking about it. Oh, man, there's a lot of policemen out there. And I said, what's going on? They said some kid is holding himself up in the house or something like that. So I'm sitting there, and they're talking about it, and then later on, they said that they talked to the young man, and they took him in, and they talked to him, and they released him back to his parents, and he ended up still taking his life. And that was very, very disturbing. And I don't, do you recall if it was 2015 or 2016, Mayor?
I don't recall the year, but that is correct story, yes. Yes.
Okay. So this is mind-blowing to me for someone to take their life. So I would be willing to put time in to form a committee to find out why these young folks are saying this is the final call for their life.
Okay.
Because everybody's life matters,
Yes, it does.
you know, and
This
sometimes.
is Miles. This is, unfortunately, there's a 3-minute limit, and you have gone past the 3-minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
I do suggest
you,
that you
Mrs.
do
Knight.
attend the event at the library.
Oh,
Oh, do you have that down? It's on the agenda.
yes.
Okay.
There's flyers, yes. All right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Amos? I'm sorry, Mr. Osborne. Mr. Osborne. No. I'm sorry, Mr. Osborne.
Name is Osborne. How are you doing, council? Good evening,
Good evening.
Mr. Webster. Hot shot, first day on. I'd like to congratulate the police department here and all their service awards. We have a great department. As you can see, I just heard by those, but I see them in action. We have a great department. Now to your thing of garbage cans. You've got to table that, and you really got to table it, and look at it for a long time.
That was an item on the agenda,
Yeah,
Mr.
but I
Osborne.
tried to, you couldn't see through me, so I have, but this is, no, that, okay, you can, I have my items. We're all worried about blight. And I notice a lot of blight in my neighborhood. 2 weeks ago, nothing happened with this bulk trash pickup. They missed it. Now, with our calling our office and having Pat answer the phone and then call them there, I have a direct number. They know me over at the Republic, but it seems like our office needs to contact them. We're paying the money, and the bulk trash remains in the gutters as of today, 2 weeks. I'll give you the exact address and pictures of it. You want to see blight? You got it. Number two, It was on the menu, but you couldn't see through us. But I had something to say, and Mr. Saunders, Councilman Saunders, I do believe Big Brother's getting too big. At your appropriations to pass a budget for new cameras, that was for replacement at our police department. I think we should stay on target and zero this instead of the $36,000. And my final thing is, Miss Lori knows that I'm always talking about Russo Industries and flying up their flag properly with their Canadian flag. And I spoke with them, and I've also seen their building and the outside. They've done some great landscaping. We're known as Tree City, but they seem to be burning out. And we as Tree City ought to go over there and help Wayne Industries. Since we have arborists and specialists, we've got trees from other places that they wanted to throw away. I think we should dig into our pants and go over there and help him out. You wanted something from Mr. Russo, he gave it back to you, the landscaping, but the trees are just not growing the right way. And so I would hope in due diligence, our DPW, you get some spare extra trees, take them on over there, drag them out. He's done an excellent job. And I thank you for your time at 0 minutes.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
You're next. Mr. Amos?
Mr. Borgi.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Congratulations, Mr. Webster. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I did a FOIA request for an email that was received by the mayor and city council members on June 22nd. It was from one Colin Clark. I'll read the first few sentences. Dear Mayor and council members, my name is Colin Clark, and I have been a Wayne resident for nearly 20 years. I live on Courier Street. Although I religiously vote in every election, I seldom, if ever, voice my concerns at city council meetings. However, I am making an exception this time. I'll stop there because the email goes on complaining about a city employee and that the council should reconsider the employee's contract. This reminded me about a message that a Westland resident read at the July 18th council meeting. It was the same message that I read at the August 1st council meeting. The message was from Councilman Sanders asking his friends that were not residents of Wayne, but that say they were and question our city employee. So I did a FOIA request on one Colin Clark, who states that he's a 20-year resident, that he lives on Courier Street, and he votes in every election religiously. The FOIA request that I received from the city, it says they could not find a Colin Clark as a registered voter in the city. How can this be? How can a person who says he lives on Courier Street in the Wayne for 20 years and votes religiously in every election not be found as a registered voter? In Councilman Sanders' message that he sent out, I'll put it in his words, I need you to act like you live in the city and calling on the council to do the right thing. Mr. Sanders' words. This is what politics have come to in our small city. He also stated at the end of his message, please help us restore integrity. I don't know how integrity is restored by having people that don't live in our city to lie to our elected or appointed officials. If this is the ethics that we allow from our elected officials, we are in trouble as a community. This is more about more than just ethics and integrity. This is about the character of a person. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, how are y'all doing tonight?
Fine. Good evening.
My name is Judy Pullins, and I live at Newberry Square Apartments, our favorite place in the city of Wayne. I'm here on behalf of some of the older people in the building. There is rumors flying all over the place that they're gonna be jacking everybody's rent up $100.
Okay.
Can they do that?
I don't know if they can or not. They're a private entity, I believe, but I would suggest you make an appointment to talk to Lori Goyne here, and, she can help you in contacting the management company and see what's going on, okay?
Okay, and one more thing. Council meeting before last, I told you all about the chains on our windows. Well, me and the police chief didn't meet up. I'd gladly take him up there in my apartment and show him the chains. They're on everybody's window from the second floor up. But, there was a discombobulation, and we was at the doctor when the chief was there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I guess I'll have to call him.
Yeah, he can talk, no. It was fire department. You were supposed to meet with fire. Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Ms. Goyne will take care of you and try and get you coordinated with everybody, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you all so much. That's all I got for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Polans. Have a good evening. Anyone else?
Council. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm very unhappy to be up here before you tonight. I've done something that I really hate to do. We have filed recall petitions in Wayne County against you, Mr. Sanders, and other councilmen. My intent was to ask you to step down, Chris. You have lied to us. You've lied to me. You've been deceitful. You suck the life out of people that are around you. Nobody can trust you anymore. This city deserves leaders that can do the right thing. Being a councilman means you have to be a leader. To be a leader, you'll need to learn how to follow. And this is a message to everybody. You haven't done that, Chris. We've given you the opportunity that you so desperately wanted. When you were sworn in, you brought the judge in here and made a big scene out of turning a leaf. You've embarrassed us. You've done everything against what you swore you wouldn't do. I'm disgusted with this council. I'm disgusted with the process that I watched happen here in the last few months. I'm disgusted with the appointment process I've seen. I was going to ask you to step down, but I'm afraid to, because the question then arises, what are you going to do as a council? What process are you going to go to appoint his replacement? It's a scary thing. We rely on you to make clear-headed decisions, to use critical thinking, to use common sense, and to use wisdom. And I'm not seeing it from anybody up here. It's sickening. We're on the brink of bankruptcy, and we're all chasing each other's tails around trying to get one up on somebody else. It's disgusting. I've said time and time again I would never be involved in a recall because I thought it was a waste of time. I've said if I ever went to that trouble again, it would be to collect signatures for another thing that needs to happen in the city. I put a lot of work in the ward system. So did you. So did other people. The ward system today is screwed up because of you, Mr. Sanders, because of your lies, because of what you've done. This idea about garbage tonight, you know what I want to see? I want to see this ward system fixed. All of you, except for our new councilman, Mr. Webster, welcome, sir.
This is the 3-minute mark.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Roberts. Your
Thank
time
you.
is up. Thank you. Have a good evening. Anyone else?
I'm David Cook. I'm at Wayne Towers. They got our, I don't know, what do you call that? Runoff water that's come on our side of our building. The grates, half the grates are, they're not there no more. They got wood piled up on them. So if you come down Wayne Towers, you come around the side where our park is, where we set out, half the grates are there and half the grates are covered with wood. I wanted to see if they could be fixed or whatever.
Okay, we will let the administration look into this and
Okay, thank you very
contact the right department. Thank you, Mr. Cook. Have a good evening. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Powell.
Oh, we got a couple things.
Mhm.
Talking about the suicide awareness thing, that's how Wayne Rock started. Basically, we had a gentleman that went on his final walk and was going to kill himself, and he found a rock that said, "I love you."
Mhm.
And he put it on his mantle, and that's how Wayne Rock started. So that's one good point to that. The next thing is concerts in the park. They're awesome. They're getting bigger, more vendors. We got a vegan truck coming. We got a barbecue truck coming tomorrow. After that, we got Family Fun Day at Hype this Sunday. Everything's free except for the vendor show. They're going to have hot dogs, food, bounce arounds, face painting, open swim, a DJ, some raffles, backpack giveaways. So that's up. And I got a chili cook-off coming up October 21st. I'm going to have 50 community chilies. I've invited 16 fire departments. So we'll probably have 16 surrounding fire departments. Everyone, all their communities have said interest into it. So we're going to have 16 fire departments there. The 27th is also of October, is the Hype Up for Halloween. Everybody knows last year we got cut off at 1,750 people. It went great. It's going to be bigger this year. We were selected, I worked 3 months on this. We were selected by 93.1, which is Nash FM, throughout the city of Detroit, for them to come out and actually do a live broadcast in our city on that night. And I also got 3 days of free ads throughout the whole day for the city of Wayne. So, and they've also asked me and my wife to come on and talk about Wayne. So we don't know when that's going to happen, but that will. And at this point, I'd like to, if I can, call the chief of police up.
Chief, is he?
I received a check today. It goes along with the Chili's fundraiser I had. It's another $250 for
Oh.
the police.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Anyone else? The real Mr. Amos.
Yeah, this is the one and only, and I'm not Victor.
No.
As you all know, I'm a member of the Neighborhood Watch Patrol. We still have light bulbs available for citizens of Wayne so that we can light up those porches and help deter crime in our city. And we still have room for any volunteers that want to join the group and help take our city back. I've noticed a lot here lately on Facebook of some crime picking up east of Vinoy, and I guess it would be north of Van Born. And with additional people, we can help deter that and run this crime back out of town.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else? Yes, Ms. Rockwell.
Limp along.
Be careful.
I was a little bit upset at the way the voting went the other night, and I didn't finish saying everything I wanted to say except from the commissioners. I would like to thank Judge Mack for being on the board for the FAN program, and I also attended on Wednesday, July 26th, the program at Hype. And I was a little bit disappointed that more council people wasn't there. Councilman Sanders and Miller was there, and myself, it's really the only ones I knew from Wayne. I don't know if there was any other people there, but if you'd have gone and you'd hear the heart-wrenching stories that those people told, and I was involved in this in the 70s and 80s, or 60s, 70s, and 80s with the prison, having people come out and talk, that if you didn't go out there with a tear in your eye and a broken heart, you weren't human. And if they have some more of these programs, and the one that they're having at the library, I'd like you to all attend. And the other thing I'm gonna, Mr. Webster, this is constructive criticism. I didn't think you were the most eligible person to take this seat. Only reason was because you weren't active in the community, and there was other people that were there. I hope that you'll get out and talk to the people. You will vote independently, not go along with this person, that person, and vote your conscience. And this council selected 2 people before, and they didn't turn out to be the best councilmen. And I hope that you'll get out there, do what you can, and would be supportive of you, and that you would just vote your own conscience. And thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Congratulations, Jeremy. I wish you the best, and I know you'll do a good job. It was a young man up north when I was living in Coldwater, Michigan. He grew up his whole life in this little town and got voted mayor. So I'm looking at success already. I have a question, Mayor. Have you ever considered the closed Bank of America, turning it into a jazz marquise to
Well-
attract jazz musicians?
Ms. Goyne over there is our Community Economic Development Director, so after the council meeting, if you'd like to speak with her out in the lobby, she will take any information. If you know of somebody who's interested, she's the person to speak to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, Ms. Rockwell.
This week, you
Yes.
know where I live in Wayne, all the way from Wayne Road to Hull and up and down the streets. I called, what's the name of our garbage company today?
Republic.
They had all the garbage cans thrown down sideways instead of setting them back on the curb.
Okay.
They had them laying sideways. I couldn't get out of my driveway because they were laying on the side in the middle of the street, and then they didn't pick up my leaves this week. But they did say that they'd come out by tomorrow at 1 o'clock and pick them up. They were there at 10 to 5. But Vern and I were talking. I thought there was an ordinance, and I'm bringing this up because maybe you could discuss this when you bring this up again. Is there an ordinance that you can put your garbage cans in the street, or are they supposed to be on the curb between the sidewalk and the street for pickup? Can you tell me? Because a lot of people leave
I
their
will-
cans right out, put their cans out in the street, don't put them on the curb. And I
We'll
thought
have-
there used to be an ordinance where you should leave them against the curb on your grass. They dump them, but now they threw them yesterday. Whoever the driver was, I told this lady by the name of Elizabeth from Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and some of them were thrown in the bushes after they dumped them next door to me, and some of them were laying in the street sideways, and they're hard to pick up when they're laying sideways. And a lot of people couldn't even get in their driveways to get home from work because they were laying like that.
Okay, we'll have the city
But
manager look into
We really need to
this
find
for
out
you.
what the ordinance is, because some people just put them in the street to start with. And
Yes.
when people are parked on both sides, you can't get hardly down the street.
Okay, Ms. Rockwell, the city manager will look into that and give an answer to
Other
us.
questions when you bring it back.
Okay, all right then. Thank you, Ms. Rockwell. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Ray Schuholtz from Westland, Michigan, but I do come to Wayne City Council because I do work at Community Living Services. Very busy guy here. I'm very busy in Westland. And I was listening tonight from the police over there, and congratulations to them, because I do support the Westland Police Department in the city of Westland. So I think it's good. Now, my question is with the videos thing. Is it going to, I think it's going to cost a lot more money than having police on the road. I don't know, because it sounds like with the wirings and all that stuff, so, or wireless, I don't know. I just want to bring that up. But suicide means people's lives do matter. We are also having one in Westland, too, City Hall, September 9th, from 10 to 1. Just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Kelly Skiff. I live on Gloria Street. I just have a question about, there was some few council meetings ago, maybe, I can't remember how long ago it was, but you guys had talked about establishing an ethics committee or board, and I was just wondering what the update on that was, and if you guys have actually got that established.
I was waiting for a full council, so now that we have one, we can look into it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, move the agenda.
The next item is item 9, items for the next agenda.
Are there any items for the next agenda from council?
I would like to do just what the lady said and have a discussions on an ethics committee.
Certainly.
I think it's past time that we have something going here.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else?
Mayor Rowe, can we
Yes.
discuss the ward system?
The ward system? Sure, certainly. And anything else? No? Okay. All right. And next item?
The next item is item 10, consent calendar. Item 10A, there's only one item on the agenda.
Wish of council?
Motion to approve without exception. Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Porter, supported by Councilman Racy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the city manager report.
I just have a few brief items this evening. I do want to just congratulate our officers, Robert Amori, Chad Jagoda, Nick Gruda, and Officer Perez. They're awesome, Chief. You have a great department, and just very proud to be working with all of you. So please extend my thanks and gratitude. I also want to thank the DPW. I don't know how many kept up on it. We had an incredible water main break this weekend, and our DPW workers were out working. They had to shut the water off. It was pretty significant, but they worked hard to get the water back on, made sure people had running water, clean water, and it's just the sign of the fact that water main breaks are year-round. They're not just a winter thing, but I will tell you, it doesn't matter what the temperature is. I just am so grateful for the team that we have here, and Ed, please extend my thank you to the team. They did a great job. And I just want to end just really quick by saying, Councilman Webster, I'm really pleased to have had a chance to spend some time with you last Thursday. I was acclimating the councilman with some of our departments, and he had a chance to ask some great questions. I feel really confident with Councilman Webster being a council member, and I really look forward to working with you, and I just wanted to officially congratulate you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Comments from members of the city council? Tonight, I will actually give first honors to our newest member, Jeremiah Webster.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to first thank my fellow council members for this opportunity. And if anyone out there has any questions for me or would like to give me their perspective, I'm very open to hearing anything that you have to say. I appreciate the chance getting to talk to everyone individually and hear your perspectives and what you'd like to see for the city, and hope from here on out we can start to move the needle forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Porter?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say congratulations to Councilman Webster. We have had a couple conversations on the telephone, so I've got to know him a little bit, so we're going to move on. I had a question about the garbage, maybe through to the city manager or to Mr. Queen. I see Allied picking up the garbage rather than Republic, the bulk couches, chairs, whatever that it's called, and I'm wondering if they are subcontracting that, whether Allied's a subsidiary or what the story is. Is that maybe the holdup on our bulk pickup at the curb all the time is because they're having another company do it? So I'd like to have that checked out if I could. And then I just want to second what Vern Amos said about the Wayne Neighborhood Watch Patrol. They can use any help they can get. You got it one day a week or one night a week or 2 nights. They're making an effort, and I really believe it's helping the city curtail some of the problems. So if you have a chance, please volunteer. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Racy?
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I wanted to congratulate Councilman Webster on your appointment. Look forward to working with you. This evening, we had the grand opening at Tubby's Submarines. Very, very nice. It's like 3 restaurants in one. Didn't realize that they're going to have pizza there. That's something that they're added. They just started this week, added pizza to their menu. But encourage people to go in and check them out and try the business out. They need our support. Whatever businesses that are coming in, our current businesses, they need our support in order to survive. So appreciate that. Concerts in the Park is going really well. Tomorrow we have the Magic Bus Tour, which is a Woodstock night. The next one, after that, it will be Your Generation in concert, and then we have an AC/DC band coming from Cleveland, Ohio. If you, I'd encourage people to get there early. Parking's going to be, you're going to walk for a little bit. These are going to be our most crowded concerts of the summer. So I encourage people to get there early to get your spot. Also, Hype doing their event this weekend, and then the weekend after that, Crosspoint Church is going to be doing their Family Fun Fest, which I think is like the 11th or 12th year of that, and that's also a great thing in the community. If you get a chance to go out to that, everything's for free there too, and great night or a great afternoon for the community people. Look forward to that, and on Kathy Rockwell's comment. I'd been to a few of the fan things already. Judge Mack has come to the Rotary and talked to us about it. We knew about that a few months before it really started talking about here, and it actually meets at the main meetings are actually at my church. So, yes. So, yeah. Yep. So, yep. Thanks.
That's it? Yep. Councilman Sanders.
Welcome to Councilman Webster's Bell. Congratulations. Also, congratulations to the police officers that received their citations. Wondering if we can there's council people that serve on boards and/or liaisons to committees and commissions. Could we get an update specifically what's going on? I know we get their minutes, but sometimes we don't get those minutes until way after what's going on. There's seems to be a dumping ground of couches and what forth on Annapolis, just east of the junkyard. There was 3 couches over there. If we could make sure we monitor that if possible, and wondering if we have many people have been asking me regarding the update on the cruise and what happened and the accident that happened there, and I tell them I don't know any information on that. If we can get an update on that and what happened and if everybody's okay or if the city's liable or whatever, because we haven't got anything on that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Wayne Main Street, for getting a grant for historical preservation in our community. There was a great presentation about automobile history in Wayne. And I also want to thank Debbie Stabenall for visiting our community. I think she was sincerely impressed with the people here and the enthusiasm, and hoping that she'll take that back with her when she decides on being able to assist us in some of our future endeavors. With that, and also I want to say welcome aboard, Councilman Webster, and I wish you the best, and thank you.
Thank you. Just a few things here. There's going to be a coffee with our state representative, Bob Kozowski, and the Wayne County Commissioner, Al Haddis, and that's going to take place on Monday, September the 11th at 11 a.m. at the Wayne Chamber of Commerce, just in case you're interested in attending. And the next thing is the Family Resource Center. I had spoken about it several months ago. Well, even though the school year is officially ended, the Family Resource Center is still operational because they find there are still needs for the students of the Wayne Westland Community Schools. So I just want to remind everyone, they can always use, they have a wish list of things, toilet articles, for students and such, anything to do with upcoming school supplies. And also, I left, again, the pamphlet and a business card out in the main foyer in the racks over there. It is still, it's a very good organization, and they can always use our help as well as helping any child, any family who is a attendee of the Wayne Westland Schools. The other item is Kaboom. Our latest newsletter for August, September is available. I'd like to remind people that they're looking for applications for a Diamond of the Community. The event takes place on Tuesday, September the 19th, and that is sponsored again by the Wayne Dairy Queen. And the criteria is you must be a Wayne resident 70 years or better that has continued to volunteer throughout the community to help others. And you can obtain these applications for nomination at the Hype Recreation Center, Wayne City Hall, and the Wayne Library. Also, we are going to be doing our yearly Friends People Helping People event. You can still give donations, and if you're interested in signing up, you can contact the Community Development Director, Lori Goyne, and she can give you some more information on that. And the other items just coming up quickly is the Detroit Tigers versus New York Yankees. It's a baseball game. There's information in the flyer. And then Harvey is the play. That's August the 24th. And A Ring of Fire, the music of Johnny Cash, Friday, September 15th. So pick it up if you're interested. A lot of those trips are through the travel group that's with Wayne Westland at their Friendship Center. And there's some other information in there that could be useful and important to you. Yes.
The Commission of the Aging is looking for places, if any of you council members know of places for us to put those papers since they are not home delivered anymore.
Okay.
So we've been putting them like at Chubby's and different places and some of the churches and that. So if any of you have any ideas, so we
Okay.
can drop them off to both
Okay.
people,
Thank you.
know, or somebody at the Commission of the Aging.
Thank you. And with that, welcome to Councilman Webster. I have very good feelings about you being a member of this council and working with us to move Wayne to truly be the city of people, pride, and progress. And thank you for being here.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved
Support.
and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?